Welcome to Chapter 6 Code in Action, where we'll be actually building a developer portal with Backstage. So first thing to do is to make sure that you have your Backstage Helm start in place. So I'll go ahead and run that. In my case, I was already using Backstage in the past, so you can see that is not needed. But in your case, I'll actually go ahead and build what is needed and run the Helm chart. Next thing to do is to set up your GitHub token. And you would get this GitHub token from going to your GitHub account and clicking on settings, github.com/settings and tokens. And there you can create a new GitHub token. And yours will obviously be different from mine. So this is mine. I'm actually going to put mine in. Next step is set up the Backstage URL. So what's the URL that you want it to be? So you're going to set that up here. Once those two are set up, just check and make sure that your GitHub token is set correctly, because otherwise pretty much everything will fail going forward. So you just want to ensure that sort of works. So the default Backstage Docker image ships with built-in appconfig.yaml, which includes your guest authentication, GitHub integration, and SQLite defaults. So as part of doing this exercise, what we will do is that we will actually change some of those things. One thing we will change is the database. We will actually use SQL, instead of SQLite, we will actually use Postgres database. And then we will provide our GitHub token for our access and so on. So that's what we will do. So make sure that these things are things that you pay attention to, because there are a few things that can actually catch you here. So, if you're not following these steps exactly, you might run into some challenges and it might waste your time. It's still pretty easy, but there's some small gotchas here and there. Right? You can of course Google and find out if there are anything that you're running into trouble with. Okay, once that is done, so now what we need to do is to create your GitHub token secret. To do that, first thing I need to do is to set up my namespace. After that, I can set my GitHub secret. Okay, so I've created my Backstage secrets there. Now let's go ahead and verify that the secret contains the token that we had. So yeah, so these tokens match. So it is going there. Now it's time for us to deploy Backstage. We go ahead and deploy the Backstage. So in my case, of course, it was existing, so it skipped it. In your case, it'll go ahead and install it for the first time. But since I had it there, I'll do an update. And I ran my update, and then I can go ahead and apply my Backstage Helm values YAML. This is a file you would find in here. Backstage Helm values YAML. This is where we are actually doing these three things I talked about, right? I mean, so moving from adding your GitHub token that we did it earlier, and setting up your Kubernetes secret there. So I'll go ahead and run this one. Okay, so I completed the install for that one. Now there comes the most important part to see if this is running. So we are actually going to run. So obviously, as always, we are going to look for both the Postgres and the Backstage turning 1-1. Until then, you want to keep it running. It'll take a few seconds, but it should come through, hopefully, that both of them are up and running. Okay, so right now both of them should have come up. Unfortunately, it hasn't. So it looks like there is some kind of race condition going on. This happens when you restart these things a few times. So what I'm actually going to do now is try and do a restart and see if this is going to work. So let me actually do that. Okay, excellent. So now we know that both Backstage and Postgres are working. So usually when you have problems like this, just good to just do a restart and rollout restart, and it should be fine. Okay, now we can exit out of this. Time for you to just check one more time. Everything is working okay. You can see it is working okay. Let's do the port forwarding. Okay, we completed the port forwarding part. Now let's check the health of Backstage. Okay, health looks good. Now we need to verify if the GitHub token reached the container. So let's see if we can get that. Yes, you can see that this reached the container because since you're printing only the first um, 10 characters, you won't see the whole thing, but you can just compare it against these. Now it's time to switch over to the browser and look at what is happening there. Okay, now that we have Backstage opened in the browser, you can see the catalog directly, your overall company catalog here. All your components that you register will show up here. So let's first start by creating an component. Say register your component. Then you will actually get the URL for the component. This is available for you. So in your case, you might want to make sure that these things are, this part of your URL is corresponding to what you're doing. This is mine. So you can run and analyze. It'll actually flag any errors as you're doing the analysis, and then it'll tell you what all things have been added to the catalog. So you can say import and just go ahead and import that and make sure that you know what kind of errors are showing up here as you're trying to do that. As you have done this, right now you can see that things have been added and imported. So now you can do a few things. Um, One thing to do is you can actually go look at the component. This is what you just added. You can see that here. Now, this essentially shows you how to actually add the different components and actually look at various data around some of these things. So in here, there are the Backstage real power is how it sort of connects everything together, right? So in this step, one of the things that we will do is like walk through that entity detail pages. So again, there are multiple pages that shows up here. So for example, you can find information around where what this is. You can just directly connect to the Backstage portal and find what portal documentation, find what that information is. The provider that we have added is right here. So you can go to that provider. That is the API gateway that we added. And within there, we can find a lot of additional information. You can find information like view source, where this is coming from. And if you're connecting your CI/CD, Kubernetes, and all those things, you can directly get the API, and all that information can be directly available from here. So you can actually click on that and get back to the gateway API. And in here also, you can go in and look at various information of like primarily gives you the graph that tells you how all these things are connected. But think of it like this as platform services ecosystem that you built as that ultimate value proposition that you're getting out of Backstage. So you have a single pane of glass where developers can discover who owns what, how services connect, and where to find documentation. So that's what we just saw here. So what you should be doing is, as you're creating more components, adding them there, and then producing the adding the resources for it, and looking at all the consumers of that. So this was the other part of it. When we really look at the Postgres primary database for it, you can see the additional information and then the relationships around that. So definitely play around with it, and good luck with it. Thank you.